Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us today. We are here to talk about what different resources there are available for you to finance your soft story retrofit. So I am going to dive into a little slideshow presentation and talk about what you can expect retrofitting to cost, what different types of financing there is available, and then I'm going to bring Phil Everitt in from Ygrene. They are a lender for seismic retrofit. And then we're going to talk about cost recovery, and we're going to end with a little Q&A. So I am looking forward to teaching you all about what resources are available. So I'm going to dive right in. Here we go. So what can you expect this to cost? There's a few different things that affect the cost of a soft story retrofit. The first one is how many lines of soft story are on the building. So how many sides of your building need work? This first example, there's only one line that would need it. Then we look at this next one, if we change it up a little, and that needs it too. The line of the building with the gas meters, boom, we changed it. We took out a wall and had the parking come in on that side. And then the fourth side of the building, if it also has parking, now we have 4 soft story lines. This is going to be the Big Daddy retrofit that's going to cost you the most. The other thing that affects this is the length of the building. So these 3 buildings have the same size tuck under parking, but if we look, the building lengths are completely different. So if we were to run a drag plate all the way down this entire length of the building, it's going to get exponentially more expensive due to needing to put a steel plate or whatever drag system the engineer comes up with, and then also replace that with stucco. So those things can add costs to the project. The other is the municipality design parameters and the city fees. In West Hollywood, for example, you can not use just one cantilever column on a soft story line. You need at least 2. So that is going to cost more, and then their plan check and permit fees are a lot more in, like, say, Santa Monica. And so these things can definitely drive up the cost of your project. One thing to note is if your city does not have an ordinance yet, you can actually get grandfathered in by retrofitting early. So if you use just one cantilever column and there's no ordinance, and then your city puts in an ordinance, you are already done with your retrofit. They can't make you put in another column. So we use this really great worksheet for exclusions and extra fees, and we fill this out with our proposals that we give, but we give a blank copy as well so that you can compare our estimate versus others and really get that grand total of the project before it begins. This is going to be great if you're looking for financing, because I've actually had clients at the end of a project come up to me with the worksheet that I gave them at the beginning and say, hey, all of your costs lined up, we actually spent a little less. So it's definitely a really great worksheet to use, and is found in our retrofit guide. If you haven't gotten a copy, definitely go on our website and get one ordered. It's free, and we will mail it right to you. So looking at different types of buildings, these are just some common examples that might be in Los Angeles. So if your building looks like this, you can know with engineering, construction, and all of the extra fees, that's plan check, permit, the structural observations with the engineer, the deputy, you can expect this total cost to be between $45,000 and $69,000. If your building looks like this, it's pretty common that this building would have like garage doors. This would be the same $45,000 to $59,000. These are just one side with a soft story line. This one has 2 soft story lines, maybe the front and back of the building, can be more like $62,000 to $79,000. Then we get into something like this, where the sides of the parking are open, they aren't walls. This could be 3 soft story lines, or maybe 2, it just depends. This total cost could run you anywhere from $80,000 to $95,000. And then this situation you see often, there's like a long driveway that you drive to the back of the building. And this one we can look at more like $86,000 to $100,000. And the Big Daddy, which would have 4 soft story lines, so this building would have something done on each side of the building, and this one we'd be looking more at like $96,000 to $120,000. There can be higher prices for projects if there are different lines, like if it juts in. More complex buildings can be higher, but you can expect an average project to cost between $45,000 and $150,000. So how to pay for retrofitting? Now that you know how much you can expect to need, you can start looking for different lenders. You can decide if you want to finance the entire project. Maybe you want to only finance half of the project. So you can refinance your mortgage and take advantage of those record low rates. You can apply for a traditional bank loan. We actually have a tool that we'll talk about in a moment about that. Life savings, nobody really wants to dip into that, but some people have that option. Cost recovery, if you're in the city of Los Angeles, is an option. We'll talk about that in a bit as well. And then PACE, which is what Phil is here to talk about today. So Zebra Construction partners with a company called Hearth. It is a lending partner that has access to several banks, and these banks specialize in construction lending specifically. So you can go on there and put in the amount that you're looking to finance, and they'll give you different terms and rates and different offers from different banks. You'll get something back in just a couple of minutes, actually, and it is a soft pull on your credit, so it does not affect your credit score. So that's one option, and if you go in there, it's going to look something like this. You're going to see the loan amount, your monthly payment, the APR, and then the term. So this is going to have different options to sort, lowest payment by interest rate, etc. So with this Hearth financing, we have a tool on our website. You can go to resources, and you can click that tool and apply for all kinds of different offers in just a couple of minutes. Phil's information is there too with Ygrene, so you can get a hold of him and get a quote for the Ygrene PACE financing. On that note, I'm going to turn it over to Phil so you can learn a little bit about Ygrene CPACE. Come on in, Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil Everitt with Ygrene Commercial Funding. Today, we're going to review the benefits for property owners to incorporate CPACE financing with their seismic construction projects. And I want to thank Michelle and Zebra Construction for inviting me here today to share the benefits with all of you. What is PACE? Property Assessed Clean Energy. Ygrene Commercial funds properties for seismic retrofit. This funding is repaid as a line item on the property tax bill. It's based on available property equity and is an alternative to credit-based financing. Only certain improvements are eligible: energy efficiency, energy generation, water conservation, and seismic retrofits. PACE is not a government program. The eligible improvements for your property consist of energy efficiency, energy generation, water conservation, and seismic retrofits. The program criteria. The property must be in an eligible district and have at least 10% available property equity. The maximum funding available is up to 15% of the fair market value of your property. You must be current on property tax payments. No more than one late tax payment in the last 3 years. You must be current on your mortgage. No more than one late payment in the last 12 months. And currently, you must not be in default. Ygrene Commercial Financing will fund projects from $5,000 to $20 million, although most of the projects we fund are under $1 million. The benefits to property owners. The benefits of Ygrene for property owners includes our approvals are not based on credit score, income verification, or employment history, and there are no personal guarantees required. C-PACE funding does not appear on the business or owner's credit report. C-PACE is paid annually, billed to the property owner on the tax bill they receive every year. It's similar to Mello-Roos, and the funding remains on the property if it's sold until it's paid in full. Increased property values from the new improvements are exempt from property tax increase if Ygrene C-PACE funds the improvement. There are no tax returns, bank statements, or year-to-date P&L statements required to finance up to $1 million in construction funding. Additional one-year no payment options are available for property owners' consideration. Our competitive fixed interest rates have term lengths up to 30 years with no prepayment penalties. Ygrene only works with vetted and certified contractors, building in customer assurances throughout the process. We also furnish Spanish docs for Spanish-speaking property owners. And our friendly customer service department is open 7 days a week. Here at Ygrene, we expedite your approvals with 3-day underwriting periods and 30 days to issue notice to proceed and fund your construction project, keeping you and your contractor on the timeline you established. That wraps up our benefits of C-PACE with Ygrene overview. One last note. We move quickly once we get your application into underwriting. We issue approvals in 3 business days and notice to proceed on your funding in 30 in most cases. I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle now. We're going to circle back and have a Q&A section. Stay tuned.
So cost recovery is only available in the city of Los Angeles. You can cover up to 50% of your retrofit costs with this tenant rent pass-through. It's any cost that's going to be your engineering, construction, deputy inspector fees, structural observation fees. It must be submitted within 1 year of your project completion and is based on the number of units, the cost of the project, and then they'll do a calculation over 10 years of how much to increase the rent. It can only be up to $38. That's the cap. So this is in addition to the $55 rent increase for capital improvements. So you could basically raise the rents up to $93 a unit with all of these improvements. Capital improvements is going to be anything lasting over more than 10 years. So anything that isn't landscaping, basically. And then, I know we're in coronavirus right now, but once the rent freezes are over, you'll be able to do all of these rent raises. If we look at an example of a 10-unit building that the retrofit cost was $80,000, to recoup $40,000 of that, they'll divide it by 120 months. So you should get around $33.33 a month for each unit as an increase. If the tenants move out before the 50% is collected, then you'll just increase that to include it in the new market rent price. So you'll include the cost recovery in the new market rent price of the new units when you rent them out. And this program is basically meant to give property owners with tenants that are paying below market rents to be able to recoup some costs for these improvements that they're making to their buildings. So I am going to move on to our next segment. I'm going to bring Phil back for a little Q&A. So I will be right back. Please hold. All right, so welcome to our Q&A portion of our presentation. So I have some questions for you, Phil, and then a few people sent in some questions.
Very
so
good.
We're here to answer them now. So the first is that you made it seem very easy to qualify for this funding. What is needed, what documents to get approved?
Sure. That's a very good question. To get approved with Ygrene, we require a copy of your driver's license, a copy of your mortgage statement, your tax identification number, and your trust documents. And if you recall, during the benefits section, we never require tax returns, year-to-date P&Ls, or bank statements to approve your projects under $1 million.
And remind me again, what is the loan to value that you're looking for?
15% loan to value is ideal. We will work with scenarios where there is a 10% LTV.
Good. Great to know. So speaking of all of that, what is the ramification on your personal credit when funding with Ygrene?
Another good question. Since CPACE is not technically a loan, it's not debt on your balance sheet, it does not appear as a loan on your credit. There's many benefits to this as the property owner. Remember, CPACE funding is simply a line item you pay back on your tax bill every year and the payment amount you agreed to when you selected the term length for your project financing.
And is this going to be a lien on the property, or how does it affect your...
Another good question.
Okay, good. Sounds a good question.
Ygrene commercial funding does not place a lien on your property. Unlike conventional lending, there is no lien on the property for the amount of funding to construct your project. Again, Ygrene will simply send out your notice of special tax levy on every annual property tax bill, allowing you to make that payment as agreed.
So it's just an extra line on your tax bill?
Absolutely. Similar to a Melrose line item in a residential neighborhood for maybe a sewer upgrade. Things like that.
Okay. And then what if I decide that I want to sell my property? Do I need to pay this off before I can make a sale, or how does that affect?
Another important question to cover. The CPACE balance stays with the property. It transfers to the new property owner until the term has been met or the balance is paid off. There's no prepayment penalty. Along those lines, you can pay off CPACE during the real estate transaction, no problem.
And then what are the tax benefits to using CPACE versus a traditional loan?
Right. Two different types of tax benefits are available to property owners. Number one, CPACE payments can be tax deductible every year for you, and I encourage you to speak with your accountant. Number two, your property values increase with improvements. And typically, once this triggers the assessors, your property tax increases as the property value does. However, with CPACE, there is no tax increase for the increased property value when CPACE funds your construction project.
Wow, so you could actually do upgrades on your property with a roof, windows, using CPACE along with the retrofit.
Right.
And then you could recoup money with the capital improvement and the cost recovery in Los Angeles. And all of these improvements would raise your property value, but you're saying your taxes don't go up.
Correct, if it's funded with CPACE. That is absolutely correct.
Oh, okay. And then I do have a question, because we're in this crisis right now with coronavirus, and I know a lot of people are out there struggling. Tenants aren't paying their rents. Who knows if they'll ever pay the rents? What is one thing that you can offer if I've already done my retrofit, but I didn't get financing?
Sure. This does come up, and Ygrene has put together a program we initiated earlier this year. It's our RECAP program. Our RECAP program allows a property owner with a commercial or multifamily property to get monies back that they already spent on eligible improvements such as roofing, seismic retrofit, windows, plumbing, electrical wire modernization, etc. When these receipts and contracts are provided, Ygrene simply gives you the money back based on your property's eligibility.
Wow. So can you just get maybe half of the money back, or do you have to use the whole project for this funding?
Two things come into play here. Typically, we provide all of the capital back to the property owner that they invested in for the eligible improvement. But you do not have to take all of the funding. You take what you need. We set up the term. We set up the 10 to 30-year repayment plan with the applicable interest rate, and you know what your annual tax payment will be each year it's issued.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And prepayment penalties?
Doesn't exist at Ygrene. No prepayment penalties at any time for any reason.
All right, so even if you need it just for a right now thing until everybody gets back on their feet?
Your first payment is due on the next tax bill every November. So you have a grace period with no payments.
Okay, sounds like...
And one more detail. We can even extend your first payment for another year if that helps you in these times. Please feel free to reach out to me anytime. The contact information is here at the end of the presentation. And thank you so much for bringing me out here today to talk about Ygrene C-PACE.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
We always have a great time with Phil. He's always really informative and does a great job of presenting terms to our clients. And if you need an estimate on financing, we'll definitely put you in contact with Phil. We have some materials. If you'd like us to send it to you, just give us a call, send us an email, and we can send you a seismic retrofit guide and also some information on Ygrene. So hope you all have a safe and healthy rest of the year, or whenever you find us out here on the internet. We'll talk to you soon. Hope to see you.
Thank you.